Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Trekyards. I am Captain Foley.
I'm Connor Coggins, and Stuart, we've got a new uniform! We've got a new uniform! Got a new uniform.
We do, and I'm happy about this, actually. Well, on Star Trek Day, they released some behind-the-scenes stuff, or cast announcements, actually, for Strange New Worlds, and as a result, we got to see some of the new uniforms for the show, which we were hoping they were going to do. We were hoping they were going to change some things up.
Hoping beyond hope, Stuart. Our fingers, our toes have all been crossed for Strange New Worlds design change.
We got our wish granted. We got uniforms that are more era-appropriate. They don't have an asymmetrical collar. A lot of people are probably going to be upset about that because a lot of people really like the Discovery uniforms and have spent money on them.
There's 3 new uniforms in this. We're going to cover them sort of one at a time. Although, the first graphic is Ethan Peck. We'll cut to the second graphic with Rebecca Remain as well because blink, you'll miss it. 2 different uniforms. So yeah, give us your, as a TOS fanboy and someone who likes other bits and bobs. Obviously, Ethan Peck is the standard uniform because Pike's wearing it, so that is the standard. But Rebecca and the Doctor has a different one. So Stuart, give us your. I'm eager to hear your thoughts.
I was really happy to see this. First of all, like I said, the color thing really bothered me. That being said, there's not as much black on the collar as I would like, but it is a carryover from the Cage because they didn't have black on their collars then. So there is a little bit of a hint of a black at the bottom. It's like they're slowly bringing the black in. Maybe season 2 will have, like, if the collar was just black, that would be nice. I didn't notice number 1's uniform being different, which I kind of appreciate. I think that's a nice look. That's a uniform I want right there. Simple. I mean, it's maybe not a male duty uniform, but I do like the zipper on the front. The fact that they kept the metal comm badges, or the metal badges, is nice. There won't be comm badges in this era, is good, because I actually have one of the metal. Actually, I have 2 of them, this one and a silver one, which I got at Wonderfest. So, so they're metal. They're really nicely done. So I'm glad they kept those at least. Those look really good. And the one I was really happy with was Dr. Mbenga, because it's a medical smock. We've seen McCoy wear one similar, but that one had more of the look that I wanted with the black collar. So overall, as a TOS guy, I'm super happy about all this because it's a nice progression between Cage to TOS.
So I'll just briefly, before I give my thoughts, I have also done the research for this, jump to the graphic with all of them, because you say it's a step, the black collars going back from Cage, but the timeline, they've already had the Discovery uniform, so they already had the black, they've lost the black to then get in the black again. So this is the little timeline. We know Spock's first appearance in the short, where the uniform is just the Discovery one. Then we have the Cage, which happens later on that year. Clearly the Cage uniform, and because we saw a Cage picture video clip in Discovery, it's still canon as far as the canon of canon goes. I mean, number 1 is in that, so if you're decanonizing Cage, then she's not canon except for Discovery, which. Then you've got the Discovery Season 1 appearance of the uniform, which was the first time we saw it. Then you've got the fascinating variant in Trouble with Edward, which we all preferred the most because it removed the awful collar, and it was like, oh, there we go, tick. Work done. Now you've got the new uniform, which we don't know the timeline, so it can't be much after, because they've said another material 10 years before Kirk, but because the Discovery's jumping time, we're only a couple of years until TOS anyway, so even if it starts then, it's not even 10 years. So if it's 3 years later, just to give a time jump, it's only 3 years till Kirk. And I've included the very important Beyond uniform, which we'll get into in a separate slide, just for context. Then you've got When No Man Has Gone Before, which is Cage, but the next iteration in terms of the cast wearing it, and then TOS. So that's the actual time evolution. Clearly there's no evolution here. Clearly they're throwing it out. There's no, and so, because Discovery happened after Cage, so there isn't even a Cage to, out the window. It's interesting, but it's kind of, they haven't tried for Cage, So let me jump into the first and second picture of the 2 of them. I'm pleasantly torn, because I think the uniform looks better, but the lack of collar is a terrible choice, because it makes the top look more like a jumper and a bit more lackluster. The actual fabric...
Less uniformy.
Yeah, less uniformy. Which is odd, because there is a collar segment. If that was just hard black, job done. Okay, yes, it's a bit low, but okay. I'm not the biggest fan of having the division insignia in the shoulders. It's as if they can't help but pattern it in the costume. They're absolutely obsessed with it. I know it makes I know it's not just flattened because it's texture, but they are literally obsessed with this. I think that's a slightly cleaner way of doing it. than every single part of the fabric. They've got a obsession with that.
That's one thing I did notice as well. I don't mind it so much. It's not as in your face as the Discovery ones, and I do like the fabric they've chosen for the uniforms. It seems more 1960s, honestly. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it feels to me very, very clear they've gone for let's make a new version of TOS. Fantastic. With the caveat of let's add a little bit of Cage inspiration. So fantastic. That's exactly what they should have done. As we hoped for. The collar, I think, is a misstep. But then, in the same goddamn trailer, Rebecca Romaine has a completely different uniform. With a full high collar. And she even has black slits on the side of her jacket. It's hard to see in this picture, but it's a totally different uniform. Totally different, with a different vibe entirely. And then, obviously, the Doctor as well has another different uniform. So there's 3 completely different TOS uniforms in this that are not the same design in any way. Apart from the fabric and the Delta shoulders. That's remarkably interesting.
And the funny thing about the Doctor's uniform is I liked it the best because it had the black collar. But you got to remember the medical smocks in TOS didn't have a black collar. I love the black collar that was needed on Spock's uniform and Kirk's. Like, just the uniform should have a black collar. But the fact that the medical uniform has it when in TOS that smock didn't. It had a black shirt underneath. It gave a little bit look of a collar. But it's a weird way to do things. It's like they're reversing things almost, switching it up. But
I noticed the color grading. I don't like its blue very much. I mean, it's clearly not the same blue as Spock, but I get the impetus of, well, we like our white uniforms, which we do see Nurse Chapel wear. We like our white medical, so let's go for a very light blue. Okay, I see the logic, but I don't think it looks as nice, and he blends in very strongly with the background because clearly it's gonna be a white sickbay. But the cut is nice. It still looks more jumpery. The problem with TOS is TOS with the proper fit, with a proper actor, looks incredible. The Discovery ones, while as in the TOS, looked very Discovery-like, but they're very crisp. These are not crisp, but they have a more balanced flair to them. It's tricky, Stuart, when you already have a definitive. Like, you've seen Archer wear the TOS, he looks perfect. Like, you've already had looking perfect in TOS. It's kind of hard to then reverse engineer a perfect when it can't be the same, even though it could be the same, but it's still better, but it's different, it feeds less. Speaking of then, let's compare the 2 Spocks.
Let's just say, for the people in charge in making this, they've done a thing in the right direction.
God,
compared
absolutely.
to what they've done before. So
yeah, and then you can see the 2 Spocks here comparing directly. It's just missing the black. The collar needs to be black. Now, the fact that we've got 3 uniforms means we might see the uniforms change inside the show just for lols.
I mean, I can see that happening for sure. And I hope that's the case. I hope that maybe, as, go to season 2, maybe they get a black collar, and season 3,
Deliberate evolution, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We still haven't seen the arms, though. I don't know if I think, actually, we do. Kirk, in the chair, I think has the rank, the rank stripes on his arms. So,
I think they're the same, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, I kind of want to see a full uniform, but I'm super happy with what we've seen.
And are the boots as garish as the Discovery ones? Oh, they're not. No, they're actually just black. Well, I mean, the name's covered, but they look like just normal boots. And, still reflective. So this Pike picture from the distance, he looks better in it when his neck has... Ethan's got a very long neck, apparently, so he doesn't quite balance as well. Pike in the first shot, I think, of the trailer, it looked a bit like he was off-duty costume, with how, like, it feels really chill to me. Also, I'm sure his pose didn't look as formal. Ethan looks a bit too long neck, it doesn't quite balance his body shape. But then Pike in the chair, which obviously is different positioning, looks really like, oh, there you go, tick. So I think it's going to look very different depending how they wear them. I'm intrigued, Stuart, I'm intrigued.
I am too. I'm also interested to see if their away mission or their away party uniforms have the coat, the grey coat to go over.
I mean, given how different number one's uniform is, and it would seem odd to have a completely different uniform for women. I mean, completely different, and which isn't the case because Uhura has the standard uniform. So that might be a mission jacket because it's different enough. I mean, it's still different. But I do want to compare, though, because this is what I thought instantly, to the Star Trek Beyond costume. Because to me, this is like a Star Trek Beyond costume variant rather than a TOS costume variant. Thoughts?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's interesting because the debate's been raised: is this the Prime timeline or the Kelvin timeline or whatever? So I think it's interesting, and I have no issues with the Beyond uniforms. I thought they were the best of the Kelvin uniforms by far. So that's kind of a step in the right direction anyway. It definitely does invoke that feeling, yes. Which is just solidifies my view that this is the Discoverse and not the Prime universe. I hate to say that again, but
I mean, did you think that going in, or have I just sort of blown your mind there a little bit?
no, I thought that. I thought that when I first saw them, they definitely have that same feel.
And I mean, it's not surprising. Well, no, I guess it's surprising because they weren't involved in writing or directing the Beyond film. That's Kurtzman and Michael Chabon, but they did the JoJo verse. So if anything, they were all in, which could explain Discovery, the uniforms, why they have deltas on, etc. This is an interesting picture to me because the fabric is clearly just the same fabric. Like they've obviously, this is the inspiration. But to me, the Beyond one looks much better. I'm going to be honest, it fits him better. The collar is very good. Out of the two of them, even though arguably the left is more TOS, I think the Beyond one looks better.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's the black undershirt, the black high necked, like you can see that Spock is wearing a black shirt, but it's just the bottom of the V that you see there, which is integrating the black in eventually. I think that's the plan. But yeah, I think the actual all around the neck, even if it's an undershirt, is a far superior look. It just looks more like a uniform than, I just threw on a shirt for the day.
Yeah, because it does. This feels like the informal uniform, like a kind of a side one that they wear occasionally, but it's not because we see everyone on the bridge wear it. It's Uhura's one, etc., and all the other ones. That said, they'd all do it differently in the uniform, like it fits people differently. But it's very interesting, this trailer. And then here we go, the two Ethans. You've got the new Ethan with very different haircut. Can I just point out, he's clearly wearing like a wig or a very carefully cut Spock fake-looking hair. Now his hair is disheveled and he looks very different as Spock. I don't know if you have any thoughts on... We haven't actually talked about him as the two.
Absolutely. I mean, when I first saw the hair, I thought it was interesting because it felt more like the Cage hair, which is a little bit more ruffled and not as sleek. That being said, his eyebrows aren't as bushy as the original Spock, but and yeah, the original Ethan Peck as Spock felt very wrong some way, and you can see why now. He almost has like Lego hair, like just plastic thing they slapped on his head because it looks too perfect. So I love this. That being said, I'm not a huge fan of the way they did Pike's hair for this first, showing him in uniform. It seems really odd. Even it doesn't even look like Jeffrey Hunter's hair from back in the Cage. It's got a unique style to it. I preferred it more in Discovery, honestly. But I mean, it could be the first episode or something, and then it gets more. I don't know how that would work, but yeah, I think Spock looks a lot better and feels a lot more like the Cage version of Spock, which means he has to yell, "Close the circuit," at least once or twice.
Even though we're after the Cage Enterprise, and he's already lived a life with Michael Burnham in this universe, so he's already gone past the Cage. And in fact,
maybe they're even ignoring the fact that happened. Like that's something else. That's the Discoverse. This is the Prime one.
I mean,
here.
maybe we'll have to put money down, Stuart. Will they even mention Michael Burnham?
Yes, I think that's going to be a thing with Spock's character. I really do, because in the panel they talked about how we can't ignore the smiley Spock from the Cage, so we're going to be dealing with that, and it could be that he's trying to incorporate or do justice to his sister by trying to be more emotional, and then kind of abandons it at some point because it's just not worth it for him. I don't know.
Because this is quite a bit past Cage now. We can see the graphic. We've already had that journey, and we already saw him yelling, which was great. The short was great. But we're only a couple of years from TOS anyway. Okay, yes, we're close to Cage than TOS, but
you can imagine when he meets his new captain, he's going to ramp up that logical aspect and tone because he's basically going to reinvent himself as a new person for his new captain. So he might be more emotional with Pike than he is with Kirk.
Interesting. And he's obviously had some of these Discovery experiences with Pike and the stuff beforehand. Although obviously we saw Spock in his first couple episodes, and he even makes a dig at humans in an emotional way. So arguably he loses emotion between episodes 2 and 3 of TOS. It's a bit confusing. But if you look at the two Ethans, he's so much crisper in the Discovery one. He feels less TOS, but way more crisp. I think because the fabric is now wrinkling, which is what TOS fabric does do. But it's just and then the zippers. So many conflicting feelings, Stuart.
It's like The one from the Discovery is like a action figure, and the other one is a real life. I like the appearance of the wrinkles and stuff, because you look at the Spock from 2266 and you see those same wrinkles in the same spots, which is cool. So I don't have an issue with that. Even the color of the blue, it's probably just the lighting or the color grading or whatever.
Yeah.
But having it be a lighter blue feels more 1960s, more original Trek than that really sharp, crisp blue we see in Discovery. Look at the Cage one. There's almost, it's, you know.
To be fair, I wasn't complaining by any means. I was just noting it looks crisper. So we're going to see how this stuff fits. It's a learning curve, and I'm just basically really interesting choice with 3 distinctly different uniforms, and that don't really fit into the timeline, but clearly an effort towards TOS. Super interesting, guys. And at the very least, this tells us they are moving away from the Discovery aesthetic, which is fantastic. People disagreed. People joked how, oh, well, Pike's in the Paramount Plus Mountain video. And I was like, yeah, because they're not going to give away his new uniform in a promo. Like, that's just not going to happen. And the fact they've sold all their wardrobe from Discovery means obviously they weren't going to continue them. So I'm happy that I was proved right, and hopefully we'll have more of that as things come.
I think that's probably it for looking at the uniforms, guys. For now, I mean, once the show starts, we're going to dive deeper into this and do more analysis and more comparisons, I'm sure, when we see more of the uniforms and more in full body aspect. But it was a really nice reveal on Star Trek Day to get this. We were hoping for a trailer or teaser. Didn't get that, but the behind the scenes and the character announcements gave us more than they probably think that we could get out of it. So
Trekyards will discuss the tidbits and make the molehills. Make the mountains out of the molehills. It's going to be great. 'Cause this is a really great discussion, Stuart. It's been really fun.
We'll make Paramount Mountain
out of a CBS molehill.
Out of the Paramount breadcrumbs.
Dear me. So tune in for other videos, and of course, just keep tuning in, guys. And if you want to support us, all our content is free. We're very proud of that. So support us on Patreon if you can and want to, of course, or join the channel on YouTube. The same sort of thing monthly. You get little bonus perks or super chat during the lives. They all help. And we can't do this channel without you guys, and we want to do the content so you can watch us. So support us if you can. If you can't, what can they do, Stuart?
Like, subscribe, comment, simple things, and click the notification bell icon to all, which is really important. So, and just keep coming back, joining us, and sharing the videos. That's it. So until next time, guys, I'm Captain Foley.
And I'm Connor Collins.
See ya.
Bye, guys.